It's the season of giving, and no game series captures this idea better than Pokémon, the franchise known for having players collect and trade cute little weapons of mass destruction. Except with Pokémon players, there are no presents under the tree. Only Breejects and Route 1 Pokémon they're hoping you'll trade a legendary for. Let me explain. I'm currently embarking on a journey to complete a Living National Dex in Pokémon Home, which is having a collection of every single Pokémon listed in National Dex order. It's been quite the challenge, but knowing that I own every Pokémon, that I did in fact collect them all, would be fulfilling a childhood dream of mine. But obviously with every challenge comes some hardships. Some games have version exclusive Pokémon, some Pokémon only evolve when they're traded with someone else, and some Pokémon are only available during time limited events. Moral is, I would be insane to own 2 versions of every game or be aware of every single event that Game Freak does. Now I know there's some Giga nerds that definitely do everything I just described, so shout out to you. So because some Pokemon are unobtainable solo, it meant that I had to unfortunately interact with other people to complete my collection.
Oh no, no.
Here I am entering the world of Pokemon business, and at first I actually found that doing trades on Pokemon Home's GTS made sense. You trade shit Pokemon for shit Pokemon, starter Pokemon for starter Pokemon, and legendary Pokemon for legendary Pokemon. The absolute best part about owning the Switch games is that you get access to 3 versions of the Sinnoh legendaries, so you can actually just trade away the duplicates you get in favor of some of those harder to find Pokemon. But things got messy very quickly. For example, Iron Crown is exclusive to Pokemon Violet, but you can only get 1. The Scarlet equivalent would be Raging Bolt, but I'm not going to give that away because that's one of a kind to me too. So what is the value of Iron Crown? I'm sure a legendary would satisfy most trade offers, but it doesn't feel right to trade one for a non-legendary. Would a shiny Pokemon work? Then again, shiny Pokemon are so incredibly easy to get in modern games that I wonder if they even hold the same weight in these kinds of trades.
Most fun I've ever— Shiny! We just found a full-on shiny Bronzor!
And shinies are a whole nother layer to the Pokemon economy, where instead of judging a Pokemon and its stats at face value, people also judge shinies on looks and rarity. My blissful ignorance to the cruel forces of this black market was quickly shattered on my mission to collect all 1025 Pokemon. Pokemon are not money, and their inherent value is subjective, so trading with people can be a coin toss. This realization is where everything started to fall apart. If you want to find a fair trade using the GTS, you have to wade through so many nonsensical trade offers that people put up. Like, look at all these greedy people just thirsting for Blood Moon or Saluna. For reference, this is another one of those Scarlet and Violet Pokemon you can only get once, and people will chuck out shinies of random Pokemon and some clearly fair trades in the hopes of getting one. Then again, if you can only catch one Blood Moon or Saluna, would you be getting quote-unquote ripped off if you traded for a shiny, knowing that 9 out of 10 Pokemon can be shiny hunted rather quickly in modern games? This is Future Nevitz here, letting all of you know that by sheer luck, I stumbled across someone offering a shiny Kyogre for Blood Moon or Saluna. That's a more than generous trade that I jumped on immediately. But don't let this fool you. A circumstance like this is 1 in a million. And besides, I'm assuming it might be hacked, right? What about Pharaoh Trim Furfrou? This specific type of Furfrou is only available in Pokemon Home, if you live in Egypt. So you can bet there's a bunch of people clocking up the GTS with downright greedy trades in the hopes that some philanthropist will come along and conduct the most generous Pokemon trade of all time. The good thing about the GTS is that, of course, you can put up your own Pokemon for trade and list whatever you want in return. Like I mentioned earlier, this makes it very easy to trade for Pokemon of equal value, like Zigzagoon for Starly, 2 early game Pokemon from Gen 3 and 4 respectively. But even this doesn't always work out so nicely. For instance, I needed a Slowking that specifically originated from Scarlet and Violet, but the GTS doesn't allow you to input a requested Pokemon's origin, so in special circumstances like these, you might end up like me and just get a bunch of Pokemon Go Slowkings, or from who knows where the fucking Timbuktu Slowking coming at ya. Maybe the GTS just isn't your thing. After all, it's a serious cornerstone of the global economy, kind of like playing the stock market. You might instead be looking for everyone's favorite Wonder Trade. Wonder Trade, or Surprise Trade, or Wonder Box depending on which game you're playing. It's a real wonder who the fuck thought this system was a good idea. Most modern Pokemon games have some form of wonder trading, but they all work the same. You give away a Pokemon and get a random one in return. It has its uses in certain games, especially if you've barely dented a certain game's Pokedex, but outside of that, it's shit. There is no wonder, because I'll tell you exactly what you're gonna get. You're getting Bidoof, Starly, Pidgey, Tentacool, Youngster Joey's fucking Rattata, Snorunt, Oddish, Hoppip, it's all shit! You and your recipient are both trading shit in the hopes that by some miracle you'll get something good. And it happens sometimes. When the planets align, hell freezes over, pigs start flying and a rainbow shoots down into your home, you could get something like a legitimate shiny Pokemon. Notice how I said legitimate, because websites distribute hacked shiny Pokemon with perfect stats into wonder trades all the time. You might think that's a Christmas miracle until you realize some of these hacked mons can get you banned, or worse, have to lug around Pokeray.com to serve as a constant reminder that it's not legitimate. And who's taking you up on a trade offer with a fucking Pokemon that has a website name? But come on, is anyone really using these when shiny Pokemon are basically a participation trophy? Especially for Pokemon Go players who basically play at 1-to-1 odds. But I have to be honest, I may have recently used one of these sites to get a shiny Mew, and I have good reasoning for doing so. When Pokemon X was like the main game out, I remember being on like a link trade with some random kid who kept showing off a shiny Mew, and I'm pretty sure like through the DS microphone you can like speak to them, and I kept saying shiny Mew, and the kid gave it to me at some point, but then I sold the cartridge to GameStop for like the in-store credit bullshit, and I ended up losing it forever. And I wanted one recently, and I'm not doing like some fucking Pokemon Go limited time event research or whatever. So I dropped $5.99 for a shiny Mew that says it's from Pokemon Go. And do I feel regretful? Do I feel hypocritical about what I just said before? Absolutely fucking not. I'm the exception. Long story short, maybe the official trading methods that Game Freak offers aren't the best for completing a Living National Dex. But, you know what they say, there's a way when there's a will. Because Nintendo is so ass backwards with much of their online services, third-party platforms are your best bet for maintaining your sanity. Subreddits like r/Pokemon trades are mostly populated with people making reasonable trade offers, like touch trades and trades of equal value. Finally, some decency in what's otherwise been a shit show so far. This can also be a great place to get mythical Pokemon, which can't be traded over the GTS. Because Nintendo loves artificial scarcity when you can literally pay Joe Mama $5.99 for a shiny Celebi. Of course, you actually have to make an effort to talk to people on third-party platforms. People can be deceitful, and you still run the risk of getting hacked Pokemon. You might also not even be able to find a good deal. Even through negotiating, it's just the way of Poke business. But in my opinion, this is a much better alternative to what Game Freak offers within the actual games. For the communication aspect alone, I highly encourage you to use third-party platforms like Reddit and Discord if you're trying to catch them all. Now that I've gotten all of that off my chest, I'm left with a question before I go back to filling out my collection. Who wins in this underground Pokemon business? Is it the people who manage to get a surplus of Blood Moon Ursalunas and Pharaoh Furfroos? The avid shiny hunters who have a diverse enough collection to navigate most trades? Neither. It's the websites that generate Pokemon. When someone embarks on a journey as perilous as catching them all, there's bound to be desperation. Losing that light at the end of the tunnel, and feeling like the grind isn't worth it. Wallets are the easiest solution. What's $5.99 for a shiny Celebi in the long run? We already established that a Pokemon's value cannot be objectively determined, but the value of money can always be determined. We may be talking about something as innocent as Pokemon, but this is a business after all, and money always wins in the end.